The opinions expressed on the following audio program are solely those of the host and the guests. Burner Podcast is an independently produced, not-for-profit show and is not associated with the Burning Man organization or its subsidiaries. The views expressed are not representative of the entire Burning Man community and are presented here for entertainment purposes only. In short, calm the fuck down. It's just a podcast.
All right, it is episode number 58, and it is 117 days till the man burns as of this recording. A lesson that I've learned in life is to not shout things about who I think I am from rooftops. Because I've discovered that pretty much the second that I do, I end up tripping over myself regarding said shout. On the previous episode, for example, just an example, I went off on a mini rant about being a grammar Nazi and then immediately made the mistake of calling one of my cheesy porn guests Brie. I thought she went by both Brie and Brianna. She does not. Her name is only Brianna. There, you happy, Brianna? Na, Brianna. Anyway, that's our shout out. I should have continued to let my grammar Nazi status remain the secret shame that it has always been. Because for one thing, I read about a study that a while back, that found that grammar Nazis are considered to be dicks because science. I don't know. I guess you needed a study for that, huh? There was more to the study. I just remember that one part of it because that's a lot of what I do on this show is butcher studies that I half-assedly read somewhere. Anyway, speaking of dicks, we just got back from Saguaro Man in Arizona Regional Burn. I don't know what that has to do with dicks. Cacti kind of look like dicks, I guess. Anyway, note that it's Arizona Regional Burn. And we'll find out why shortly or longly. I think it comes towards the end of the show. This trip came about after a dinner with Rebel Dharma a couple of months ago. Rebel is the rep for Burners Without Borders LA. And he says to me, hey, you want to come to Arizona with us? And I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds like fun. Without really looking much into it. The super short version, by the way, about Burners Without Borders is that they are the disaster relief and community initiative sub-organization of the international Burning Man movement. I promise you we will have an episode all about BWB very soon. Anyway, Burning Man really believes in the importance of the regionals, and so BWB is making a stronger effort to have a presence at all the regionals. Rebel had already been scheming with Dan Reeves and Lee Hemingway, the leads behind an amazing project called The Journey, which is going to be out in Black Rock City this year, to combine camps and create a super camp at Saguaro Man. You'll learn all about The Journey on the next episode of this show, probably. I'm guessing that's going to be the next one. So Burners Without Borders, The Journey, and Burner Podcast set sail for Arizona. And almost the minute we arrived, Arizona proceeded to tell us to go fuck ourselves with a barrage of atmospheric terrorism. Oh, we got to build The Journey and BWB's pyramid structure in pretty good conditions. But then right afterwards, the winds came, then the rain. Here comes the rain again. Then the hail, then the fucking snow. It fucking snowed on us. Saguaro Man takes place outside of a town called Snowflake, Arizona, which I don't know why I assumed was an ironic name. Turns out Arizona knows no irony. While there, I had the wonderful pleasure of sitting down with Robert, a.k.a. Mr. Mom. Robert, a.k.a. Mr. Mom, is a third of the board, which kind of started this whole shindig and throws it on. I was hoping to sit with one of the people who had been on this Saguaro Man wild ride since the beginning, so we could get a real history of the event. That was the plan of going out there. Scotto, the event lead, who everyone just sings a million praises of, had to run around and make sure that all the Jennies were off since we were expecting a lightning storm for a while. Yeah, seriously, you fucking name it, and Arizona threw it at us in a 72-hour period. So Robert and I started chatting just outside our bar about how he just returned from the MAPS conference in Oakland And then we decided to go ahead and turn the mic on. Recording at events is always a drain, and it almost never works out as planned. But I do firmly believe that everything happens the way it's supposed to because I am a goddamn hippie. Every event I've ever planned to do recording at, it's just been like weird thing after snowstorm, after lightning, after equipment malfunction. I don't know. Maybe it's the universe telling me that I should just go out and enjoy the event. But I'm super glad that I got this interview. It was a lot of fun to record. We got to just take a load off for a second. So stay tuned to hear the story of how the Arizona Regional Burns started out and where it has ended up today. Learn all about Saguaro Man, and hopefully next year you'll make your ass down to Snowflake, and make sure you pack lots of sweaters and rain boots to, I don't know, not get your ass kicked as hard as I did. Dude, it was so fucking cold that one night I was like, I was asleep I had to go to sleep in my coffin sleeping bag. You know, those things are like super cozy and made for the winter. And I was wearing like 3 layers. And I was reaching out trying to find my fur so I could throw it on top of myself because holy shit. But anyway, I'm complaining. It was a magical burn. Lots of beautiful connections were made, and deep epiphanies about the future and spiritual, all that bullshit that happens every time we burn. That's why we keep doing it, no matter how crazy it gets. Today's episode is entitled Dispatch from Saguaro Man. You don't say that G very loud, by the way. Robert told me that he'll hit me with a mic if you pronounce the G, which is why I took the mic away from him. Anyway, I go by Mr. Arash, even though nobody calls me Mr. Hey, Mr. Arash, Mr. Mom. That's pretty cool. Welcome to Burner Podcast.
On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rain. The first thing I met was a fly with a buzz and the sky with no clouds. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can't remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no name.
This is the way I normally do it.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, it's from all the years of doing this, like one of the things that constantly comes up is people are like, can we set up something by phone? Can we do a Skype thing? And I'm like, it doesn't have the same energy.
In person, being able to look at your eyes
Yeah.
and talk to you makes this very real.
Absolutely.
And I enjoy that very
Yeah.
much. And that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
appreciate
that's
you.
why we're all here. I mean, if we could all just phone it in,
Yeah.
we could do Saguaro Man remotely from each of our houses. No,
Yeah.
doesn't happen.
It's just not the same. And there's like so much of communication is about like the different fluctuations and body language and cues that we pick up in energy. And there's so much of this going on. And I feel like in so much of life, we're in such a hurry to, get the information across rather than really connect with the other person. And that's what I think I have found, that in the interview style, like that's what we're able to do here with this conversation, looking in each other's eye, relaxing. So anyway, for the listeners who don't know what the fuck we're talking about, it's because originally I had these like mics set up and we were going to do this whole radio-y thing, and Robert here was going to actually hold the mic, and I was like, the instant we started talking, I'm like, nope, this doesn't feel right. And I'm glad we turned it off.
You know, your intuition serves you well.
Yeah. The way we ended up here, by the way, is we started talking about MAPS. You just came back from the MAPS conference in Oakland.
Yes, in Oakland.
Yeah.
And for those, listening, MAPS, Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies.
Mm-hmm.
It was founded by Rick Doblin in, I believe, the 1980s. Yeah. And Rick is the executive director. and he is the force behind it. And the reason I'm involved is a friend of Rick's went to college with him that is a good friend of mine. And so I became interested in MAPS and what they were doing. But what MAPS is about is actually studying psychedelics as useful, helpful medicines. Right now, everything that we were talking about is a Schedule 1.
Yeah.
Schedule 1, according to the FDA, has no medical value whatsoever and is a dangerous drug.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about specifically marijuana, LSD, psilocybins, MDMA, ayahuasca, ibogaine, several other drugs, the ketamine. All of those drugs were found to be very helpful in FDA-approved studies that are going on. And I'm very much a proponent of getting away from the medical model of, oh, you have PTSD. We're going to give you a drug that you're going to take the rest of your life that's going to mitigate some of your symptoms, but you're never healed. You never get through anything.
It's a very reactive approach.
Exactly. A very reactive approach and a very real, profitable approach if you happen to be big pharma. The idea of using MDMA in a study is you do it in conjunction with therapy in a controlled situation, and as a result of that, you actually get better and don't need any drugs ever again.
Yeah.
One of the things that I liked, there was a veteran that was being studied, and he was talking about his experience, his emotional ringer that he went through during the therapy, and he goes, why the hell do they call this shit ecstasy? I mean, really, he was like, no, not ecstasy at all. Yeah. But it helped him. As one of the people behind this event, Saguaro Man, I'm not a big proponent for recreational drugs. I don't believe that we are smarter, better, faster, prettier, sexier when we're high, or altered, or drunk, or whatever. However, I think there's a time and a place for these things. And I think one of the things about this community that I love so much is the acceptance and the inclusion and the non-judgmental process that goes on that allows this kind of experiment to happen.
Totally. No, you hit it right on the head. That's because most often when people hear that I'm in this community, in this scene, one of the first questions they want to ask is about the drugs.
Right.
And
me too.
Yeah. And what I've always clarified to them is that you're focusing on the wrong thing. It is an environment where you are allowed and you are open to experiment. People don't judge you for it. People are supportive of you. And you can experiment with a million different things. And people fixate on a substance. But there's a lot of experimentation happening. There's experimentation happening with gender identity. There's all kinds of experimentation happening with art, with different ways of practicing living, with different eating. It's a constant experiment. And you're able to do it in an environment where people are supportive of you. And if you fall on your face, they're going to help you stand back up. And that's where you have people that will be willing to experiment with certain substances.
Yeah. And with that said, in terms of lifestyle experiments, one of the things that's impressed me the most, and I've been doing this for over 12 years, so I'm not a newbie, but I have watched so many people come to a place in their life where they make decisions based upon some of the experiences they've had here. And those decisions are, I'm going to move on in a relationship. I'm going to quit drinking. I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do to improve my life. I'm going to become a vegan.
Yeah.
And here's our first interruption.
Yeah. No,
awesome. Come on in. Yeah. Hey, we're podcasting.
We are recording finally.
Yeah.
Rich just stepped in.
Yeah. Hey, Rich. I'm Robert.
Hey, Robert.
Nice to meet you.
In our fancy studio here at Saguaro Man. I learned, by the way, finally, it's one of the reasons I took the mic away from you is because you said you were going to hit me with it if I pronounced Saguaro Man wrong again.
You're right. And that would hurt. Because you say the G in Saguaro Man, we got a problem.
Yeah.
It's funny. I live in Tucson.
Yeah.
And there's a street right behind my main street. Yeah. And it's Saguaro, but they spelled it with an H. So, I mean, there's not even any agreement on how to spell the damn word. But going back to what we were talking about, I think it's so important for people to be able to experiment in a safe environment with themselves, with their relationships, with whatever, and create it. One of the things that I see here is inspiration. People are inspired by the art they see. They're inspired by the music they hear. They're inspired to do something better than they've done.
Yeah.
And one of the things I mean, I'm harpy about this and I feel bad, but every person that I meet, is this your first year at Saguaro Man? Yeah. Great. What are you going to volunteer for next year?
Yeah.
Because events like this live on volunteers. Mm-hmm. I'm one of the org. There's 3 of us. Yeah. Scott Ruby and I. We're the LLC. Last year, my taxable income from this, not just this event, but the entire year with the activity, my taxable income was $26. Yeah. Do you know why? We give everything away. We do it on purpose. We're volunteering. Yeah. We're not doing it for fun, although it is fun. We're doing it because we believe in it.
Don't look like you're seeing a miserable time yet.
No, well, it could snow a little bit less on us.
Yeah, Arizona, I feel like, has been telling us to go fuck ourselves from the minute we came into the state.
Oh, it was like, we were here 2 weeks ago for the work weekend. It was beautiful. If we'd had Saguaro Man 2 weeks ago, we would be like, hallelujah, naked women everywhere. We're dancing in the air. It's snowing. And it snowed yesterday. It snowed today. It's been beating us up. Yeah. But going back to what I want to really talk about, and thank you for giving me a voice. I appreciate that.
Of course. We appreciate you.
Yeah. But the opportunity to volunteer, the opportunity to become part of the community, people feel really important when they do something. When they volunteer at Gate, or they volunteer at Greeters, or they volunteer as Rangers, or Art, or Leave No Trace, or whatever, that gives them a sense of purpose and a sense of ownership of the event. And I want you to feel just like I do. Yeah. Like, this is your event. You're making it happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not a spectator sport, Burning Man. How long have you lived in Tucson?
21 years.
So you got into this about 12 years ago. When was your first Burning Man?
Oh, my friend Royce. And Royce was Mr. God.
Mr. God?
Mr. God.
Does he just go by God ever?
No, because that would be Robert. He's here. Royce is not here. Yeah, he met God. It's a different God. Yeah. But Royce was one of my best friends from high. I've known Royce since 1979. Okay, we go way, way back to college, and he kept telling me, "You should go to Burning Man. It's really, really fun." I go, really, really fun. I have a wife and 2 little babies at home. I'm busy as hell.
When you were in college?
No. This is in the 2000s. Okay. He went in 99. Okay. His first burn, and he kept telling me, "No, this is really fun. In fact, I'm meeting new friends, and they're really good friends. You should go." So finally, in 2005, our friend Cregan was getting married, and we had Cregan's bachelor party at Burning Man. Yeah. And I went, and for 7 days, we had a cake made out of metal with a fabric cover over it. And some of the women here, I saw jump out of that cake. We had 27 women and 6 men dance out of that cake for us.
Amazing.
And I came home from Burning Man, and I said, "Honey, you gotta see this shit. I'll stay home with the kids." Yeah. Meanwhile, I got named Mr. Mom because I was such a mommy kind of guy. You're like, "Oh, you're going out in deep playa. Do you have sunscreen? Do you have water? Do you have everything?" And Royce turned to me and goes, "You know what you are? You're everybody's mom. You're Mr. Mom." Name stuck. 12 years later, I'm still Mr. Mom.
So if I want like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I might be able to come to you for that.
Yeah, it might be. So I drugged my wife, Conchita, whose real name is Shelley, but Shelley in Spanish is Conchita. Yeah. So that was her polite name, Conchita, and she's just Cheetah. Nice. And she's the art lead here, by the way.
Oh, cool.
But I drug her to Burning Man in 2006, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Wow.
Took the kids in 11, 12, 13. I stayed home with the kids. Yeah. She met Greg, which was cool. 14, 15, I went. 16, I stayed home again. So I've gone to 10 burns. She's gone to 11.
You said your buddy had gone in college? Or you were
Royce
friends
and
with him since college?
Royce and I were friends since college.
Since college. What were you doing in college?
I was studying philosophy.
Okay.
And human services.
You don't say. You mean you like to analyze the human existence and also help people and volunteer? That's so strange.
I could have gone into engineering, but I couldn't do the math. Yeah. Still can't.
I'm with you.
I do accounting for a living. That's really my role. I'm the financial lead for this org, which means I file our taxes and, check all the bookkeeping and everything else. Make sure Scotto, really spent every dime he said he did. And that's one of the things that is wrong with regional events in general, and ours specifically, is that you have very important persons come in who want to do things. And as long as that person is there, everything works. When you take that person out of the equation, you can't plug another person like that in. Right. And so one of the things we're working really hard at regionals is to change. Yeah. And believe me, Meg from San Diego, Sandra from Soak, the folks from Element 11 in Utah, the folks at Apogea in Colorado. I have stolen from them, love them, and appreciate everything, because every mistake they made, they told us about.
Yes.
And so one of the things we're trying to do is do a true smooth transition from Scotto and Ruby and I, as the three of the LLC, the org, to bring in the new R-Season, to bring in new people, and to give them procedures so they don't have one strong persona that directs everything, makes everything happen, and when that person's gone, nobody knows what the hell to do.
Right. Yeah, the machine should be able to, the ship should still be able to sail if the captain is stepping down for a minute. Somebody else can take the steering wheel. Yeah.
And it's not just about sailing down the road, this path, but you need the vision.
Yeah.
I mean, think about a captain. The captain has the vision. The first mate is in charge of where the ship is.
Yeah.
Okay? And so when your captain dies, if your first mate can't step up and make those visionary calls, it doesn't matter where the ship is short-term. Long-term, it's going to run aground.
Right.
Okay? One of the most important things to me that Scotto did immediately, and I helped, but we made everything really transparent to the community. Here's how much money we made. Here's where we spent every fucking dime.
Is this something that you'd seen from other regionals?
Yes.
Yeah. An expert is simply one who's made every given mistake in a very narrow field. So
I did. I actually got to be a presenter last year at the GLC, and I presented with a guy named Ben. I'm blanking on his last name, but Ben was from Vancouver, British Columbia, and he's a public accountant. I believe they would call him in Canada, same as a CPA in the United States.
Yeah.
Very smart dude. And we were going over best practices that we wanted to talk about in our presentation. And I realized there were several things that he was saying, well, this is how you have to do it. And we weren't doing it in Arizona. And we're like, whoops. We might want to change some things here. And we did. And the beauty of this is that I don't think anybody's ego is going to get bruised if I say, hey, guess what? All the artists that get $600 or more either give us receipts or get a 1099.
Right.
Because that's the law. It's real simple.
Yeah. So at what point, let's see, so you, Burning Man, let's go back 12 years though. So at what point did you have the idea that Arizona needs a regional, that there needs to be something here?
Well, I mean, in 2005, I came back from Burning Man. My life had been altered. Katrina had happened while we were there.
Yeah.
I was having horrible panic attacks at the event, crying, miserable. Couldn't wait to. I finally found a friend. This back in the back in the day, there was no cell service. I found a friend with a satellite phone, and I got a hold of my wife.
Yeah,
because she and my kids had flown to Southern California, and they were, by the way, at that time, 6 and 3 years old. Yeah. Okay, so I was terribly worried about them, and I was like, "What? I'm so scared. What a horrible thing happened."
Yeah.
And she goes, "Well, we're fine, but New Orleans isn't." I go, "What do you mean New Orleans isn't?" Yeah. She goes, "It's underwater." I go, "What?"
So were you at the event and you were under the impression that Katrina had hit
I had no idea.
Tucson? Yeah.
No, I had no idea Katrina had hit anywhere. I just had this horrible feeling,
this
horrible sense of loss.
Right.
Sense of loss. And by the way, Burners Without Borders was born at that event, at that moment.
Yeah.
So I found out why I was all freaked out. But I found out also...
Your spidey sense was tingling, like you just knew your family.
Big time.
Right.
Big time.
Yeah.
So I went to Burning Man. I had this life-changing moment.
Yeah.
And the first thing I did was take was Dylan 6? I believe it was 6. Yeah, 1995 or 2005 he was 6. So my now 18-year-old son was 6 years old, or maybe 7. And he and I drove up to Gateway Ranch outside of Flagstaff.
Yeah.
I went to decompression. And there were all my Arizona burner friends that I had made, the people I'd camped with. And that's Kismet and Mark and Sol and Jeff and Royce and Nita and Wink and Blank and you name it, these people that we came together again. And it was like this reunion where I felt whole again. I felt like, oh my God. And we had a blast, and that was a regional event. And so the first regional event that my wife and I went to was the next spring in Toast. Yeah. Toast was held 60 miles north of here in a place called Witchwell, which is where we've been holding decompression recently.
How long was Toast going on at that point?
Since 2001.
Okay.
So it
was about 4 years in.
Yeah, 4 years in. Yeah. And Toast went 10 years.
Because that was a question. I did see that, the subtitle of the event, it says N Arizona Regional, meaning that there's others. So like Toast was the predecessor to Saguaro Man?
Yeah. And Gary, who was our RC at the time, was he was the person that put Toast on.
Right.
He and Grover. And Grover lives in San Francisco, and his wife's part of the org. Toast was at the biggest. I think the last year we had it, I think we had 275 people.
Right.
10 years in. It was a big party in the middle of nowhere. And Todd, you see last night's burn, that Saguaro that burned?
Yeah.
Todd,
I helped hoist it.
Todd built Toast Man for 10 years.
Wow.
And it was the same structure you hosted. The only difference was instead of looking like a Saguaro, it looked like a piece of toast with arms. And sometimes it had the Arizona flag, and sometimes it was fluorescent.
Why
sometimes
toast?
It was I have no idea. Why is soak? Why is scorched nuts? Why do we call it lakes of fire? Where did apogea come from?
Saguaro Man makes sense, right?
Utopia?
Are there saguaros here? Yeah, we're just hippies in San Diego.
No, there's not. Well, that's the other dumb thing.
Yeah.
We hold Saguaro Man in the one place there's no saguaros.
There's no saguaros, yeah.
I mean, there are, but we built them, right? Yeah. They're metal and steel, and sometimes we burn them down, but there's no real saguaros going out here. Anyway.
But Toast, you said, was only about 175 people?
275 at the last year when it was at the biggest it got.
Right.
And Gary and Grover had done it for 10 years, and they were like, you know what? We're stepping down. Y'all figure this out. And Scotto and Ruby and a man named Yards, and I'm going to mention Yards because out of respect. Yards was the one that went, we want to continue our tradition. What do we do? How do we do this? Where do we go from here? And so the org reached out to the region, and Burning Man, believe me, I'm friends with some of them.
Yeah.
You know, Michael is a friend of mine. Marion Goodell and I could talk. Never met Larry Harvey. I never see him. Yeah. But I know Stuart. I know Steve Raspa. I know a bunch of the org. But they reached out to us and they said, okay, region, here's what you need to do. You need to find out who wants to be your regional contact and nominate them.
Yeah.
Need to stop?
No, go ahead.
Okay. And so we did. And Scotto, which is Scott Platsky, and Chromie, which is Ben Overend, both stepped up and volunteered to be our regional contacts. And so the region, the Burning Man organization contacted all of us and said, who do you think of these people? How well do you know them? What do you think of them?
Right.
And because of the feedback from the region, and I don't think Yards actually wanted to be a RC, and so he didn't put his name in the hat. But he did stir the pot and make things happen.
Right.
But both those guys stepped up, and for the last 7 years have been our regional contacts. Now, Chromatest, meanwhile, he moved to the Bay Area. So, so that kind of left Scotto out in the cold.
Yeah.
But they came to me and they said, we really want to form an LLC. How do we do it? And I said, it's real simple. You go on the state website, you fill out the paperwork, you're done.
Yeah.
Boom. And they go, well, we want you to be part of it. I'm like, really? Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we came up on our first burn here at Saguaro Man, 2011. And a guy named Justin Eastman, a good friend of mine, and my wife said, you know what we need? An art fund.
Yeah.
And so my wife and Justin figured out how to do an art fund. Now, the first year, we had no money for nothing. And the first effigy we burned was Todd Man. So we took a bunch of pallets, just pallets, stapled them together, put them up, and put a picture of Todd's face up on top. And that was Todd Man. And we burned it. It was 22 feet tall. It was
How many people?
Maybe 250.
That's fucking great. Okay.
Maybe 250.
Yeah.
So then we burned Todd Man, right? And we start the art fund. And Scott was like, well, I got this idea, and I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this, and we want to do that. And we start creating this transparent council of people that Scotto, who has been the benevolent dictator of Poly Paradise and Burning Man for the past 19 years. Yeah. So he kind of knows his way around how to organize a theme camp, okay? Yeah. We get that done, and first year we had $2,500. 2012.
Wow.
2013 we had $5,000. 2014 we had $7,500. 2015 we had $10,000.
Yeah.
2016 we had $12,500, and this year we had $15,000 to give away in our art fund.
Wow.
So it's grown incrementally with the population. We've increased our ticket price from $50, all the way up to $80.
Yeehaw. That's amazing.
And now Scotto's handing it off.
Yeah.
And he's walking away from this knowing that, and Meg gave us the best compliment this morning in the Leeds meeting. She goes, "You guys rock." She goes, "You guys are actually organized.
Yeah.
You're actually looking at the future, trying to figure out what to do next instead of looking at the past and trying to react to it." But Scotto has set us up, and I really trust my friend that when he walks away from the checkbook, when he walks away from the leadership role, that the only thing that's going to change around here are the name tags.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So
I'm a
what
talker,
was?
sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. That's you know what, that helps as a podcast host because then the story's you. We're trying to get the story behind Saguaro Man. So in the earlier years when you were raising money, because I think one of the most interesting things about this show is people from different parts of the world are potentially listening, and there are a lot of people that are thinking, what if I try to do this in my city? Right. So a lot of the lessons learned that come from people like yourself who were part of seeing this whole thing grow from beginning to end is that you can share this information with them. So I wonder, in those earlier years, how did you guys decide it's time to start increasing population? Was that something you planned every couple of years you're going to go up, or did you look at one year and then look at next year and say, I think we can go up a little bit more? How did that work?
Two things. One is the first...
Is that straight tequila?
I hope so.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I really hope so. Because I just took a sip, and I'm pretty sure it is. The first year, when we had the event, we had such a good time. And by the way, it really helps that our landowners here, Arthur and Sunshine, are burners. Yeah. That 20 of those pieces out
Pyro,
there.
was his name?
Pyro is Sunshine's
that's
son.
Right.
That's her son.
I meant Pyro.
Yeah. The landowners are burners. They're veteran burners. 20 of those art pieces out there are theirs that Arthur put up.
Yeah.
He's a creator. He loves this. So, this is something that sustains them as well. So we don't have land costs where most places like Apogea pays a fortune.
Right.
And actually Firefly, which is not a burner event official, but it was a burner kind of event in terms of who did it, wanted to do it outside of Flagstaff. They ended up paying almost half of their ticket prices went just for land costs.
Right.
So for us to
how
not
big is
have
this property?
How big is it?
Yeah. How many acres?
I'm going to say 300 to 500, but you'd have to ask Arthur. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but it's a lot of acreage, and it's a lot of open land around the acreage.
And what did they do with this land when we're not here?
It's their property. I mean, there have been cattle run on this land. They prefer that they don't have cattle here, but there have been cattle. If you look at this open country, it's open range country, northern Arizona. A lot of sagebrush, a lot of mesquite, juniper bushes.
Right.
Not real hospitable for anything.
So that's what I'm wondering. Has their family owned this property a long time?
No, they
purchased it.
They purchased it. I think. I would say probably 10 years ago, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Anyway,
and so permitting and stuff.
But permitting and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So with the first year we had the thing happen, we kind of flew under the radar. We just had it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just basically.
It turns out that they had actually allowed a couple of other individuals to come out here and hold events, which I won't call them raves, but okay, whatever. Anyway, the neighbors bitched. And they bitched loudly. And this is very Mormon conservative Republicans out here in this country. Yeah. They're very much like libertarians, like leave me alone, stay out of my hair. But having bunch of loud raver, crazy people didn't sit well with them.
But neighbors,
so we had to work.
Neighbors.
We had to work. I'll show you later.
Okay, but
you can look out the window and see them. Let's put it that way.
Really? Okay.
Yes, there are houses out there in the distance.
So if this is 500 acres, couldn't we go centralized somewhere where we can't see their house?
No. You're in a valley.
Yeah,
you're in a valley, and you look up, and all around the end of the valley there are houses. There are.
Okay.
So there's people out here. Well, the first thing we did was co-opt the neighbors.
Yeah.
They wrote a bunch of letters to the county commissioner saying, this is wrong, we hate these ravers, and we're like, well, we're not them, we haven't been them, we've never been here before, here's what we're doing, here's what we want to do. We went to the Apache County Commissioner's office, we got a permit. Now, this is cool. So just this weekend, the county commissioner, the big dude, he came. He was here. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I heard about it.
Walked around, and it was like, this is awesome. He's like, how do I get in on this?
Yeah.
So we co-opt the neighbors by inviting them. by showing them we leave no trace. We're not hippies. We're not ravers. We're not leaving a mess. We're not going to be super loud. We're going to be respectful of you. Okay. Second thing is, so we get this going on, right? And we realize we don't have land costs. We're not paying the BLM a fortune like the org is.
Right.
What do we do with this money? And the answer was art. We always wanted to tilt towards art, as opposed to being a big sound camp and a raver event.
Right.
So we don't want big name DJs coming in where people want to buy tickets just to see, whoever it is, so and so or such and such. Or I can't. That's how bad I am. I can't even name anybody except like Paul Oakenfold.
You coincidentally named 3 of my favorite techno DJs: so and so, such and such, and Oakenfold.
Okay, there we go.
Oakenfold's actually trans.
One of my favorite. Yeah, he is trans. One of my favorite DJs is Umi.
Yeah. Umi's phenomenal.
Umi D.
Yeah,
she's phenomenal.
Umi's amazing. She's spinning. For the listeners who aren't familiar, she's spinning here at the Burners Without Borders stage at Saguaro Man. So that's how I got to meet her too, and I became a fan instantly. Like as soon as I heard a couple of her sets, I'm like, "Fuck, she is creating something amazing."
And I met her at my house. We were doing a All Souls procession party at my house. And she came there, and we met, and we instantly clicked, and been very good friends with her. My wife Tita and I love her. Yeah. She's staying in our camper. How's that for clothes?
Nice.
So yeah, good people. But we never wanted the music to overtake the art.
Right.
And so what we wanted to do was find a way to prioritize and fund art. So what we did was, okay, what are our land costs? Okay, we got to grade some roads. We got to do this, do that. Small things. Firewood, porta potties. County permit, $300. Okay, what else is left? Bribes. Okay, bribes are kind of funny, but we don't really do bribes. But
we call them official permitting.
Official permitting. Mostly what we've used, it's like paying people to come up on the work weekend. Here's $30 in gas. Thanks for coming up and working your ass off 2 weeks before the event. Right. So we did all that, and we went, how much is left? Wow, that's the art fund. Okay, what about next year? Well, let's budget this. Let's do this. What if we grow this? That's the art fund. We did not ever sell out until 2014.
Wow.
And we weren't even close. I mean, we would say we're going to put 500 tickets for sale. We sold 486 tickets. Right. Woohoo! We thought we were rocking it. Yeah. All of a sudden, we started selling out. And about the same time Burning Man did, too, coincidentally.
Yeah. Well, it's most of us that you've had this experience. You've watched countless people have this experience. We find the community, and after a couple of days, we're like, where the fuck have you people been my whole life? How did I not know?
How did I not know you?
Like-minded people existed?
Yes. And the worst thing about Fight Club is don't talk about Fight Club. Don't talk. Burning Man sucks. Yeah. Don't go.
Yeah, don't go. There's roaches. It's terrible.
Oh, it's horrible. There's bugs.
Dust.
Hippies.
I had to tell you one of the things that I did notice is so we've talked about Utopia quite a bit on this episode because we happen to be based in San Diego,
and I happen to love Meg.
Yes, and she's the executive producer of the show, so yes, Utopia comes up a lot. But like one of the things that I noticed is that the energy at this event, it does feel a little closer to the playa. Like one of the things that I have noticed is that people, I've heard multiple people say to me, "Welcome home." And that's something that I don't think I've ever heard at Utopia. Utopia very much has like developed its own culture, and it's a very it's hard to describe. But this thing, and I wonder if it's because it's smaller. I wonder how much of it is by design. The energy of it feels a little closer to Black Rock City.
Interesting. I will tell you this. Arizona is a big state. I mean, you take Southern California from pretty much Santa Barbara to San Diego. That's how big we are. And we have a fraction of the population.
Yeah.
So we're very spread out. So for a lot of us, this is like, I call it old home week, but it's like a reunion.
Right.
I see my friends from Phoenix and Flagstaff and Prescott and Sedona and Kingman and Winona and wherever, Winslow. I feel like that song, Route 66. So don't forget Santa Fe. We're not going to go there.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of friends that I don't see anywhere else except this event. And we're scattered throughout the state. So it is more of a welcome home kind of feeling.
Yeah.
It is that, and all my burner friends from Colorado, like Travis, and my friends from New Mexico, and my friends from Southern California, and my friends from Washington. My God, I look at Beauty, and Beauty lives in like Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And, one of my campmates and so there are people, from literally all over the place that we come here for this.
Right.
So there is that sense of community, that we built something that's a community. And that's kind of, I've got to tell you a secret about the theme.
Okay. Not to our thousands of listeners, no worries.
Yeah. Right. So, you know what the theme is this year, right?
Huh?
Ridiculosity.
Yes, ridiculous. I'm looking at the shirt, yeah.
All right. What was the theme last year?
No idea.
Any idea?
No.
Reverberation. What was the theme before that? Fractal vision. What was the theme before that? Superstition. What was it? The reason that I know all the themes is because my wife and I sit in our backyard and talk. And we come up with the themes every year. And it's really fun. It's really fun. And we don't do it by committee, and it's not up for a vote. Right. It's like, here's the theme for next year. Yeah. Period. Yeah. One of the things about that is that sense of fun, like ridiculosity. I mean, just between the elections and the world as a whole and everything else, it's like, this is just ridiculous. Yeah. And we're like, what have we got in the theme for Saguaro Man? I'm like, I don't know. How about ridiculosity? And we're like, yeah, boom, done, theme. And honestly, it's not always like that. But my point being is that the whimsicalness of Burning Man, when they come up with their themes, like in 2008, it was the American Dream. Yeah. And we all went, and so we came up with our own theme that year, which is Down on the Farm. We sent Larry Harvey a video of what we thought Burning Man's theme should be for that year. Didn't go over well. Not at all. No. Not even a little slice of humor laugh. No. Nothing.
Like,
we got
Arizona.
Shut down big time. But what we realized is that one of the things is come up with something that people can identify with. And I don't think anybody is having a problem identifying with ridiculosity this year.
Yeah.
Really?
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating what you're describing about you guys being a lot more spread out, because you're right. In San Diego,
that's a tight population, man.
Yeah. I mean, I can't really go 48 hours without seeing some fire spinning. It's happening everywhere. And I remember, that was something that really hit me, my second burn.
And do you have a lot of people from Orange County come down for your burn?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, a lot of people from OC come down. Los Angelinos come down. A lot of LA really likes San Diego's event. I'm speaking only on behalf of people that I've spoken to, but people usually are very impressed by San Diego's burner energy. Our community's pretty tight.
That makes sense.
It's also San Diego. It's hard to stay mad. And it's
all that.
I remember though, it was Temple Burn night, second year, and I almost I wanted to cry the way I did my first year. Because the first year I cried for 45 minutes at the Temple Burn. Just
really? Wow.
So much came out.
Yeah.
And the second year I remember I kind of wanted to, and then just nothing was happening. And I'm like, am I done? And I realized after I talked to some more people over the next 24 hours on Playa, multiple people would just be like, oh, this is so amazing. I flew out from so-and-so and I never get to see stuff like this. And it hit me I'm going to see all these fuckers in about 3 days when I get back to San Diego. There's Wednesday nights, there's fire spinning happening at Mission Bay. Every weekend, every party I go to, it's burners. It's constantly around you in San Diego.
In other words, your culture that you have, you carry into your day-to-day life a lot more.
Right.
And it's
you guys are more isolated here.
In Phoenix, they started, first we started in Tucson. We called it Church Night.
Yeah.
Church Night. What's Church Night? Well, it was fire practice. Get together and spin. And so somehow Phoenix, they named theirs Tabernacle. I don't know. Maybe the Mormons got involved. I don't know. Whatever. It's all good. But they have Tabernacle, and we have Church Night. And so we have events locally that are the burners trying to get together and keep things going. But they kind of go up and down based on who's willing to host. About the third time I hosted Church Night at my house, I was like, oh, hell no, we're not doing this here again. No. Because it was drunk night. It wasn't church night, okay? It was, oh my God, we've got an attitude night. And so Sheeta and I bowed out. But other people continued to host it, and it's happened. In Phoenix, it's happened. But, for Flagstaff and all the small towns, there's 3 or 4 or 5 people at Spin Fire that get this. So we don't have a community to keep it going all the time. And I think that's one of the reasons that, like, one of the people that I just saw, Jesse from Gallup, New Mexico, one of the best fire spinners I've ever seen in my life. You'll see him spin nunchucks tonight, along with several other things. Maybe a fire whip if you're lucky. But he is fantastic. And I realized they don't have anybody to practice with.
Right.
They don't have that community that you have in a bigger city.
Yeah.
Now, it's funny because I lived in Orange County for 16 years. Can't stand the place. Love you people, but hate the energy of Orange County.
It's a giant golf course interrupted by walls.
Yes. Yeah, you know, it's like when I was living in my apartment and they cut down all the trees because they were too tall. They might damage the building. Yeah. I'm like, all right. So anyway, I have zero respect for the mentality that is suburbia. And I always joke about Tucson. Tucson is not a city. Cities have infrastructure, freeways, mass transit. We have none of that. We're the largest village in Arizona. We just happen to be 1 million people. But, you know, it's a village. It really feels like a village. And that community village feeling is what I have here at Saguaro Man. It's that same village where I could look out your window right now and see that girl out there. I know her. Yeah. She's my friend. It happens in Tucson. And that is really cool. But boy, you know, burner culture has influenced mainstream culture. That's one of the things I want to talk about.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's really important for not burners, not Burning Man people, but everybody else to realize, hey, guess what? You're thinking differently now. Guess why? Yeah. Because we changed things.
Absolutely.
We're talking about decommodification. We're talking about leave no trace. We're talking about sustainability. We're talking about immediacy. We're talking about all the principles that are Burning Man.
Yeah. No, it's
in everyday life.
It's one of the things that we have talked about in the show multiple times. Like, the reason that I think what we're doing is important as far as documenting the community and you know why we do this show is what's the conversations that are being had in this community are deciding what's happening in the next chapter of human civilization.
I agree.
We are at the forefront of every level of experimentation with the way that we live, with fashion, with art, with living, with sustainability, with relationships and love, all of these things. We're at the forefront.
And you haven't even asked me about my relationship yet.
Yeah. Should I?
Oh my God, no. Well, you know, I do want to talk about that for a minute because I'm not ashamed of it at all.
Sure.
But I'm in a polyamorous relationship. Yeah. My wife and I are about to have our 21st anniversary. We have two boys. They're 18 and 16. They're great kids. Yeah. They're staying home while mom and dad party.
Right.
In 2013, I sent my wife to Burning Man alone. Probably a mistake. Maybe not. She met Greg, this wonderful man, and they fell in love. Did not end our marriage. Yeah. One of the things I've learned about Burning Man is if you want something, you hang on to it. If you want someone, you hang on to them. Yeah. You don't just give up and walk away and cry in your beer and feel sorry for yourself because shit didn't work out the way you want.
Well, you're hanging on to the energetic connection as opposed to the human body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And my wife and I have a beautiful marriage. Greg has been her lover for almost 4 years now. And I'm okay with that. And he's my friend. Yeah. And that is part of what I learned in this community was the ideal of sexual acceptance of alternative sexual lifestyles. Yeah. But reason I brought up my relationship, and if this gets cut, I'm good.
No,
but
please.
I just want to say that one of the things is we don't all fit in the same cookie cutter box. And that those of us who choose different lifestyles, I don't recommend polyamory for anybody. It's not for the weak of heart.
Yeah.
You have to work through some serious shit. And you're going to have some jealousy issues, and you're going to have some anger, and you're going to have some times of abandonment.
Right.
But you have to appreciate what that means to be able to let somebody you love have something they want.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It's just that the cord over here is we're fine.
Good.
No, I totally agree. That's something that I've talked about on the show too, is that exploring polyamory has been a very important part of my journey in this community as well. Yeah. So we were bringing it back around to what we were talking about when we initially started speaking about psychedelics. To me, the exploration of love and understanding, like, am I making fear-based decisions here, or is this love-based? Is this compassion? What am I in this for?
Right.
Polyamory is like another psychedelic for me.
It is.
What it's doing is it's bringing up things that normally I've hidden, tucked away in my subconscious in the shadow work.
I'm really uncomfortable. Really uncomfortable. It's like if somebody you're perfectly comfortable with your own body, right?
Yeah.
But if somebody comes up to you in a public place and reaches underneath and grabs a hold of you, that's a very uncomfortable moment.
Yes.
And even if they're your friend and they're kidding around, it's not cool. Mm-hmm. It's uncomfortable. So then you have to breathe into that moment and make a decision.
Right.
Am I going to smack them?
Yeah.
Am I going to back away? Am I going to move their hand? Or I'm going to enjoy the moment? And those are your four choices. Yeah. And they're not always the same.
Sure.
And there's no right choice, by the way. None of those choices is wrong.
Right. Everyone is on their journey.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's always been, that's one of the other things about this community that's beautiful too, is that we do accept that. Maybe something is for me, it doesn't have to be for you. It doesn't mean that everybody has to do the exact same thing.
Exactly. And some people are into some things, some people are into other things.
Yeah.
But just because I'm not into what you are doesn't make what you're into wrong.
Yeah. That's the thing that terrifies most people outside of our community.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah. Oh, my God, you're into that? That's so wrong.
That's
How do you know?
That's making
like
me question things, and I don't like this.
It's like... I'll give you a perfect example. My sister-in-law's into kiteboarding.
Yeah.
Do you know what kiteboarding is?
No.
Okay, so imagine taking like a glorified small surfboard about this big and strapping yourself to a huge, huge kite.
Right.
And glowing across the water at 60 miles an hour.
Yeah. I was going to say, because I've seen that even on desert.
No, this is in the water.
Okay.
Yeah. Really, really dangerous sport. Really, really fun if you're into it. Hardly for the faint of heart. Not the kind of thing you would just say, oh, yeah, learn to water ski. It's fun, Kiteboarding is way out there. It's not for everybody. Burning Man is not for everybody. Yeah. Saguaro Man is not for everybody. But for those who get there and get that moment of rush, that moment of real life, polyamory, whatever, it's awakening. And here's the thing. Being uncomfortable, being pushed out of your comfort zone is very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We agree on that.
Yes.
Like, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck. Like I said, like we got here and it started raining and snowing.
It's snowing. It's like, welcome to your comfort zone, San Diego.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Like, it's sort of like, so you took time off, your projects and like your rent and everything to come out here and beat the living shit out of yourself for like the next
freeze your ass off in the snow. Yes, exactly.
What's up, buddy?
Howdy.
Greg,
howdy.
We're recording. Just so. So I did notice, by the way, at Saguaro Man, I have spoken with multiple people also who had been to this event multiple times. Mm-hmm. And actually, there's a few people that was their first time, but people definitely who have not been to Playa. Yeah. And also multiple people who didn't even know really what Burning Man was. But they're coming to Saguaro Man. Like, that's a big part of their experience.
Yeah, it's funny, is I find that there's a disconnect between Burning Man and our regional in this way. There are friends that I meet, and I still have. April. I just met April. She's camping with us. She's been to Burning Man multiple times. This is her first regional event.
Right.
She didn't even know it existed.
And
she lives in Tucson. Okay?
How does that not come up in conversation?
I know. Then there's people that I've been to Saguaro Man with repeatedly, that are part of our Arizona community. They've never been to the Big Burn. Yeah. They don't even want to go.
Yeah.
So there is this disconnect. And one of the things I really appreciate about Stephen Raspa, who's one of the Burner Orgs people, is as an event producer, that's what he was. He was a special event producer. He really gets this shit.
Right.
He wanted to get the regional started, and he wanted it to happen because he knew that Burning Man by itself, as this huge, big event, could only do so much in so many ways.
Right.
And that would not appeal to a great deal of people.
Right.
But these regional events appeal to a great deal of people who would never go to Burning Man.
Absolutely.
And just like Utopia, I mean, you guys have a great community.
We
not all of your burners go to Burning Man.
Yeah. No, that's been a huge thing. Like, a lot of times I'll talk to people about how, like, they're interested in going, but they're scared off by the idea of for lack of a better description, the douchebaggery that they've seen a lot.
Douchebaggery.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a new word, folks. Or as we called it, the Delta Bravery. Delta Bravery.
It's just, it's like towards the end of the weekend.
Exactly.
When the
It's like,
warriors
really?
show up.
Do you really have to be that big a douche to be this way?
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
That's what they're scared of. And I'm like, dude, there's like all these regionals you can go to, which that energy that you're like, oh, Burning Man was better when it was so-and-so. I'm like, yeah, go to Saguaro Man. It's basically what Burning Man was, 15 years ago, something like that. You can channel that exact same feeling. You're looking for the community. It's there. And I got to tell you, last night when we were watching Saguaro Man burn, actually we were watching, I saw that one from a distance. I watched the cock burn.
Oh, okay.
The cock burned very well.
The cock was pretty cool.
The cock was fantastic.
The rooster, people. It was a rooster.
Yeah,
it wasn't a giant phallus. It was a rooster.
Giant horrible STD.
But it was a really good 3D cutout rooster, wasn't it?
It was beautiful. Mm-hmm. It burned green.
Oh, yeah.
So I was watching that, and I was observing the rangers watching the perimeter. And
by the way, I was one of those rangers.
Beautiful.
You didn't know that, but yeah, I was.
We do that now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So I was watching you guys, and that was when it really hit me, the scope and size of this community. I've been to Burning Man. I've been to other regional events. We've been to parties that are influenced by Burning Man, events that are very Burning Man focused, even though they're not official. Big ones. Utopia is like 3,000 people. Desert House the other weekend was like 5,000 people. Yeah. There's all these things. And really seeing this event was when the scope of how big our community has hit me. Because there's infrastructure, there's planning, there are people filling roles, there's training involved, there's a whole specific approach to safety. It's a system that's being taught to multiple communities around the world. And seeing this event and how small it is in comparison to the larger ones and how it still has that same infrastructure, that's when it really hit me how big our community is.
That's cool. You know what? That's really cool to say. Thank you. And you know what? The thing that I get from everybody else, from all the other regionals, is build your infrastructure.
Yeah.
Build it first. If you have your infrastructure in place, you can grow. Yeah. If you don't, you will be fucked at the drive-through. And I mean that quite literally. Every region. And one of the best lessons I ever heard was former executive director of Apogea got up and she told why they got their event canceled at the last minute, and what went wrong and how it went wrong.
Yeah.
You hear everybody talk about their successes, but when you hear somebody tell you really honestly their failures and where they fucked up and what they did wrong and how not to do that,
right.
That was better information than I got from anybody else.
Right.
I really believe that one of the things that we've done well is listen in our regional network. Scott is one of the meta regionals. I don't know if you know what that is.
No. Meta regional?
Meta regionals are people that have been invited from their regional things to become a meta committee that kind of oversees all the other regionals.
Oh, wow, okay.
And what they really are doing is they're looking at the successes and the failures of each individual regional and trying to pull the wisdom of the mistakes.
Right.
Because let's face it, if you fuck up, but it works out anyway, you didn't learn anything, right? Mm-hmm. But if you mess up and you make a mistake and it costs you and it burns you, you have a lesson. And so taking the lessons of all the regions and going, this worked, this didn't, this worked, this didn't. That is one of the reasons I think Arizona's successful to the extent it is. And by the way, we have our thorns and our warts, and we got some problems.
And I want to know about that.
I'm not at liberty to talk about the current ones.
Sure.
I can talk about the past ones.
I want to know a couple of big lessons you've learned over the years. Like things
big
that you
lessons you've never... Okay, here's one. Nobody is ever banned for life, even though we would like to. Everybody deserves to get a timeout, and we've had, whether it was a sexual harassment or a sexual assault or a physical assault issue, where you take this person and you go, you're banned. You're out of our community. Bad dog. No biscuit. Doesn't work. You need to be able to say to that person, you need to get outside of this and you need to get yourself fixed. Right. And if you do, you can come back. But nothing is forever. Okay?
That's interesting.
That's one of the big lessons we learned.
So you've had, without getting into too many details about the person, so you've had situations where somebody has had issues like that, and they had a timeout, and when they learned their lessons, they returned a better person?
No. We've had lessons where we banned them from the community forever, and now we realize that was probably a mistake, and we need to let them back in if they've learned their lesson.
Right.
The most important thing in that one is that we are not going to exclude somebody because they screwed up.
Right.
We're going to give them a chance to make amends and do things right. Now, if they don't make amends and they don't do things right, they can have time out forever, as far as I'm concerned. But time out is just that. It's not punishment. It's not shunning. I hated that whole religious connotation of shunning someone from, you've been shunned from our society because you fornicated with Mrs. Jones. No, that's not us. That's not who we are. So now back it up and say, what lesson does this person need to learn in order to be in our community, and give them an opportunity to learn it.
Right.
We've got one going on right now with a specific person here at this event where everybody's having a hard time, and we're going to work through this, and after the event, we'll figure out what to do.
Yeah.
But what we have learned, lesson-wise, reaction-wise, we don't need to do anything now except keep an eye on this person. It's like having a 2-year-old, right? And you have matches over here. Don't let them pick up the matches.
Yeah.
That's it.
What about like the victims of this person, for example?
Exactly. And now I can tell you about one of the victims. It's one of our RCs. She's a smart person. She's well prepared. She can take care of herself. She knows exactly how she's going to do this. But one of the things we're doing for her is specifically saying, hey, this person shows up in your perimeter, you're on comm, you call for help right now. Okay? If we have somebody that's not an RC, that's not on comm, we educate them and say, this person's bothering you. If this person shows up, you immediately do this.
Right.
And one of the things about rangers, we talked about this morning. Who are rangers? Do you guys have rangers?
Yeah. Yeah, we have rangers.
What are rangers to you?
Rangers are it's a better way for us. It's a more ideal way that police enforcement could have been in a different dimension. But
that's a really good description, and it's so full of shit. Who are your rangers to you? What do you call rangers for? Why do you have rangers? What do you want your rangers to do? Let me ask you that. What do you want your rangers to do? I can tell you how
I've used rangers in the past.
Tell me how you've used them.
I can tell you at the burn, a very good friend went into a pretty dark place on LSD. And my immediate reaction, my thought was like, right now we're going to go get rangers because they're going to know what the best way is to approach the situation. I knew that this particular person needed to have an experience with somebody who, for lack of a better description, is more official. This person's partner then, at first got really worried. Like, oh no, we don't want to bring in enforcement. We don't want to, what if there's this other thing? I'm like, don't worry about that. The Rangers are our friends. They're here specifically to help us in situations like this. They're going to be of sober mind. They've had previous experience dealing with situations like this. There is a structure involved. And I highly believe that it's important to let the people who have the most experience do their job without us trying to get in their way. I think it's important that instead of everybody trying to do everything, you double down, you triple down on the things that you're good at. And our Rangers are good at taking care of things like that. They're the ones who have it together. They have a system in place. They have resources they can reach out to rather than us trying to help her. Like in that situation, and it worked perfectly. The Rangers showed up. They're, of course, full of compassion and love. There's no judgment there. And really, the first approach was like, hey, why don't we just go for a walk?
Yeah.
Because right now we're just sitting in this tent. But after we started going for a walk, they're like, all right, well, if for some reason that doesn't work, there are some tactics that we can approach. This was a funny one. We had another friend, actually, a couple of years ago who got pretty out there, ended up stripping naked and running through around the man at midnight, and had to get kind of tackled.
Ooh, okay. But I've seen that happen a couple times. Yeah.
But one of the Rangers approached it this way. They're like, "Hey, what did you take?" He's like, "Oh, LSD." He's like, "When did you take it?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know, 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago." He's like, okay, it's about to get really good right now. You're going to start feeling really calm. Everything's going to start feeling, and then he totally programmed that information into
Totally
him, and it
twisted him
worked.
around.
Yeah.
You know, and thank
But anyway,
you.
that's what I'm.
Thank you, because exactly, our Rangers, they're not cops, they're not law enforcement,
Right.
they're not medical. They are there for conflict resolution.
Sure.
They're there to de-escalate situations. And 99.9% of the time, the Rangers can handle it just fine. And when they can't, that 1/10 of 1%, they have a radio and they have resources.
Right.
And that's exactly my point. Thank you. You just told a story that made my point so beautiful. That was awesome.
Thank you.
I have to wind this up. I gotta get out of here.
We're coming up on an hour right now. Anyway,
Okay.
well, let's do this. So you're stepping down. Let's figure out what's happening right now at Saguaro Man.
Yeah.
There's an org of 3 of you.
Yeah.
That are running.
We're an LLC. We're
Right.
limited liability. What we want to do is this. We want to bring the 2 new RCs in and join the LLC. They opt in,
Right.
and 2 of us, out of the 3 of us, opt out. That means I'm going to get a check for $50. I'm going to get my $50 back.
Taking this company for a ride, man.
Get my $50 back, baby. And these guys are going to write a check for $50. I'll do the paperwork. They're in the LLC. I'm out of the LLC. But what we really want to do long term is we want to form a 501c3 nonprofit, for charitable, not for profit corporation.
Right.
By the way, I happen to run one of those, so I know my way around it.
Good. You have a little bit of experience.
A little bit of experience. But I want to create, again, 2 things. One is a nimble LLC that can move and think and change on its feet with whatever, without having to go to a board of directors and have a meeting next month. We can't decide on whether to paint the curtains blue or red until we have a board meeting. Oh my God. Jesus fucking Christ, give me a break.
Yay, bureaucracy.
Okay. Yeah, bureaucracy. But we want to have a nimble LLC and we want to have a charitable organization. And we see the benefit to both. And what I want to continue is, I want to continue to bring in the young people, the new people, and get them volunteering and get them involved and get them in the community. Because once you're sucked in and you drank the Kool-Aid, you can't go back. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You can't unlearn what you learned. And one of the things that I've learned is trust, harmony, cooperation. Those things work really well. I don't have to agree with you on everything. I just have to work with you on these.
Right.
And
trust that you have the best intentions.
And trust that you have the best intentions. And you know what? For the most part, with very, very few exceptions, everybody here has the best intentions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
you're stepping down. So 3 more people coming in. Saguaro Man's going to keep going. It's not stopping.
No.
Right?
My wife is going to be art lead next year.
Yeah.
I'm stepping down from my role in the LLC as one of the members.
But you'll still be here.
She's going to be art lead, and I'm going to be on the art council.
Yeah.
I'm going to be out there walking around figuring out where we're going to put the cock next year.
Yeah. I'd like to put the cock somewhere. Do you think you'll go bigger next year?
Yes.
Go bigger next year? Yeah, no pun intended.
Yeah, speaking of cocks. Yes, we will. But not very much. And here's why. Never outgrow your volunteer base.
Right.
Right now, one of the things we're doing is all the people who volunteered for us this year, they have a guaranteed ticket next year. And Apogea did this for me too.
Yeah.
Smart move.
Yeah.
The people who worked, they get the tickets first. Everybody else, whatever.
Right.
But I want to continue to grow our volunteer base. And honestly, we went from 1,000 people, which is 1,000 tickets, about 1,260 people. This year, I would like to go to like 1,200. So increase by 100 to 200 a year until we get to a point where we go, oh, you know what? We're really out of land now. I think we got to buy out the neighbors up there on the north. I mean, honestly, I don't want to ever grow this thing fast. I want to grow it really slow. I think that's one of the things that we've done right.
Yeah.
I saw Apogea actually shrink their ticket sales.
Right. Moving in little by little, so you can fine tune every little tiny part of it.
Yeah.
Instead of just dropping into the next song, you're very slowly bringing in the mids, bringing in the highs.
Yeah, bring down the lows, bring up the highs, and then when you drop the bass, man,
then you drop
get
it.
to dance. And if you don't, here's an analogy I love. If you don't outgrow your volunteer base, you don't outgrow your people.
Yeah.
When you try and grow too fast, then you become a promoter. Then
Yeah.
you just lost the audience you wanted in the first place.
Right.
So,
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, not just for the note. Thank you for all of the work you've done for the community, for putting this event. It's been absolutely beautiful.
So my pleasure.
It has been so beautiful.
I love this community. It's like I never went to church. My parents dropped me out of church when I was 5th grade, but I feel like this is my community. This is my soul. These are my people. I will give my heart to them.
I'm in the same boat.
And I walk out of this room right now, and I'm so happy to do this with you.
This is beautiful.
This is pretty awesome.
This is wonderful. I'm so happy I ran into you. This is perfect. This was absolutely what needed to happen.
Serendipity, my friend.
Thank you so much for everything.
All right. Hey, you can connect with me on all the social medias, all of them, every one of them, at Mr. Arash. That's spelled MRARASH. I will probably accept your friend request, even if I don't know who you are. But I'll look at some of your photos, and if you look like you're burning, I'll add you. Unless you get like weird on me, then I'll block you. I've done that only twice. I am on most active on Facebook, but and Instagram. But you can tweet me and stuff too. Follow Burner Podcast on Facebook to stay up to date on all things Burner Podcast. It's easy to find. Just search Burner Podcast on Facebook. Burner Podcast is released on the first and third Wednesdays of the month and is available on Stitcher, iTunes, Spreaker, iHeart Radio, and TuneIn Radio, among others. This show is not hard to find. We're even on YouTube, dude. We're super easy to find. Burner Podcast is produced by Eddie Waring Hill. Today's episode was produced by our executive producer, That Meg King, with support from our amazing team, which include associate producer Tori Massey, network music editor Navjit Sarna, chief playa scientist and online editor-ish kind of job Ramiro Martinez, sound engineer Freckle, and a bunch of other people that I can't name everybody. And we thank you, dear listeners, for all of your support. Our opening theme music, America's Horse with No Name Remix, is produced by Joe Man. Check out his stuff over at soundcloud.com/DJ Joman. Joman. So until next time, love and light and all that other crap. Good night.